the years, Dennis and I have tried to give you the most accurate information available. Well, today, thanks to CrowdStrike and Microsoft, that is going to be nearly impossible. And I'm sure a lot of you are affected too. So, strange day in the markets. Netflix earnings we had after the close, American Express this morning. What a weird morning it is, but we'll get through it. CC Legator, 8:35. He's going to talk to options expiration, which should be more than interesting. Z, he's leading us today on Pre-Market Prep.
Welcome to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
Good morning, traders and investors. I'm just going to go with last here because, well, my futures, or at least my S&P futures are correct. They're up $6 at 5,650, bouncing off yesterday's low. Muted rally here. The battle for 5,600 is on. I'm going to assume my dollar quotes are correct. That's up a couple 15 cents at 104.03. TLT is 93.45. That close looks like was 93.47, so that's down a smidget. Crude 81.09. That's the last trade. That looks like it's down 20 cents. Gold in the red. That does look like a real bad bar, down 46.60 at 24.0990. Silver getting hit on much bigger basis, down over a buck at 29.21. Bitcoin futures, they're holding from that rally, up $710 at 64,330. And let's bring in Triple D. Triple D, what a day.
Yeah.
What a day. Can you imagine a day? I mean, have we ever had a day like this?
Well, we have, but it's a mess here today and so many different things. And obviously the story of the day brings Zunaid in here too, so he can talk about this as well. Zunaid's going to be with us one more day here. We're welcome.
Yeah.
We're happy to have Joel back. We're happy to have Zunaid here. But this is a mess of a day. And obviously technical outages worldwide, on the CNBC screen right now. Some people in the chat saying they don't have internet. Joel and I are affected here too. I'll say my problems here first. So my Interactive Brokers account, which my main account where everything is fine. But what I have is a Ready Plus account that's connected to my Interactive Brokers account. And it's because the trading software is a little bit cleaner there. And I have that connected with a fixed connection that sends orders over there. That Ready Plus account cannot load my regular account, so it doesn't know my positions and I can't make any trades there. It's because if I try to place a trade, it just says account required. I emailed and they said that this Microsoft issues affecting them loading accounts, and I'm like, so I'm like, I'm not going to have any count in my Ready Plus software all day, and they're like, and they couldn't give a timeline on it. So and then Joel thought he was okay, but then he was trying to tell me, holy mackerel, what's going on? JP Morgan's down like $6. I'm like, it's not down at all, Joel. I'm like, what's, your software telling you there? And Joel's last was okay, but his closes are from Wednesday. So TradeStation can't load Thursday's closes. So there's little things impact everywhere. So be very careful if you're trading here today. Make sure you're trading on the right information, because we've got Joel saying, that TradeStation's closes are from 2 days ago. So, I mean, you can just see little hiccups everywhere. I think you should email TradeStation, let them know that, because maybe people don't even realize it. Maybe it's just you. This is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. Zunaid, you're good?
Everything's fine for me. I'm not going to lie. I told Joel this in the background, but like last night, my buddies and I, we wanted to play Xbox. So we loaded up, but we couldn't connect. And we're like, oh, okay, first world problems. Go to bed, come back this morning, and I see that it's bigger than just me not being able to play video games.
Yeah.
You had airlines. So we talked about airlines yesterday, about how it's just flat from many, many years ago for some of these airlines. And today they had to cancel flights, ground flights. If you're on the air, you got to come down because you don't know what other mechanical failures you might deal with on the tech side of things. Frontier Airlines had to cancel, I think, like 100 plus flights or whatever the case may be yesterday. So it's chaotic all around. CrowdStrike was down about 20% in terms of the lows that it hit for the pre-market today. So not fun if you're a CrowdStrike
Yeah,
owner.
I'm gonna do. We had a very nice suggestion here. I am relogging into my trade station. Obviously, I cannot reboot my computer. My
Yeah.
computer was I was out for a few days, so
You're good.
I shut this puppy down. I don't want no hackers getting in here. But I'm gonna bring it up again and see if yeah, you got your charge.
Yeah, while
Let's
you do
see.
that, yeah, this is a
Oh
CrowdStrike.
no,
worth
now it's
talking about.
worse. Thank you. Who just
Yeah.
made that
What happened?
suggestion? Oh,
What
thank you.
happened?
You want to share your
Now
charge?
my futures are wrong.
How low did CrowdStrike get here in the pre-market?
Well,
So
and
that's
my-
what I've got. Down
My
20%.
stocks are right.
It
and
was
my
at
fut-
270.
That's
They
what that's
knocked us
so
down 70 points on
that's
this.
what
I would
my
have bought
charts
270 if
are
I could have had a
telling me.
trading software that could place an order.
Oh, he's right.
Oh
He's
man.
right.
Yeah, that's what my
270?
trading chart where it says
Who's
is
selling that down at
270.
270? This
You
is
assume that they got hacked.
cybersecurity companies in the world. I mean,
And-
okay, maybe not anymore. They're losing the title. And you know what? The funny thing is, Joel, like Palo Alto Network's up on this. Obviously, people are saying people are going to stop using CrowdStrike. They're going to come over here to Palo Alto after this. PANW is having itself a day. Sentinel-1, which has been the dog of the cybersecurity, it's up 7% on this. So you can clearly see all the other, Paris Trader's nightmare here if you had these things on, because individual news, obviously, some going one direction, some the other.
So do you want the good news or the bad news here?
Well,
good-
give us the good
Well, the
news.
bad news is the S&Ps are down 60 handles. I want you to know that they're down 60.
Oh, that's what he says. They're not down at all, but his software says
Yeah,
they're
that's
down
not
60.
I was gonna say
That's
there.
Wednesday's close. Yeah, he's on
And
Wednesday's
they know I
closes
love the
again.
closes. But here's the good news, and this is the really good news.
Okay.
Here. Okay. Now my stocks are right.
Oh, the stock quotes are right now. So they got the futures wrong, but the quotes right in this one.
Yes.
What a mess. So again, if you're listening to this show, be very careful that you're trading on the correct information. I can tell you my trading software is, not able to place orders here right now. Interactive Brokers is, but my regular software is not, that I trade through Interactive Brokers. But what I do have is the correct quotes. So we can actually tell you that CrowdStrike is indeed right now at this time only down 36 points. We say only down 36 points because it is 36 points off the lows.
Yeah.
That's how much they hit this last night. Wowzers.
It's okay though, because CrowdStrike CEO apologizes for the outage in his NBC interview. So at least he apologized.
Well,
One single
that's why
low.
the stock rallied 36 points, because he's
Back on June 11th, this traded 370.14. If you want some confluence there. And the low was 370.08. So I usually say you look for two lows in the same area. When something drops, 60, 70 points, it's okay to go on just one low. You got a big bounce right now. I'm just going to go psychological numbers here because that's really, 300. You haven't seen 300 in a while. You had a couple lows above that area, but once again, tough to trade it technically, but it looks, if you're leaning on the pre-market low, then you got to lean on almost $40 worth of price action. But just the other thing too, Dennis, I remember maybe wasn't it last week or the week before? Did you try a breakout trade on this one?
Yep. And it failed, and I lost. This is why you take your losses. So I bought this thing because it was bouncing up at the highs. It looked like it wanted to break out. It did not. I bought it 391. It went to 398. And then she started breaking down. I sold it at 381, so I took a 10-point hit on it. That's what you got to do when you're swing trading. You got to take your losses. And am I ever glad that I took that loss? It's 306. Here's the problem. This is what so many traders do wrong, is they're unwilling to take a loss. So now you're sitting there waiting for a breakout, and you're down 100 points on it. And what are you doing now? So, you've got to take losses in this game. I'm wrong all the time. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. So when you're wrong, stock is supposed to break out and it breaks down, you're clearly wrong. Get out. That's what you got to do. And obviously tech wreck happened, and then they were hitting, all the tech stocks, which kind of piled on. And now you get a company issue like this. Stock down 70. I feel like, at 270, I would have taken a shot down there. I obviously wasn't even awake when this was hitting 270, or I wasn't even. What time was that at 270?
It was
Let's
6
see.
a.m. It was on the
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
a.m.
I wasn't up
practice.
at 6 a.m. I got up at 6:30, but I didn't even
Yeah.
notice. I didn't know because I couldn't even log into my trading. So my regular trading platform, I could log into Interactive Brokers, but my regular one that I get all my quotes and everything from, I couldn't even log in all morning. I finally got in. I was like, oh, awesome! I'm finally in. I log in and there's no trading account in there, so it's just literally quotes. So I have quotes, but again, my ready isn't able to trade here this morning, which kind of sucks.
And just real quick before we move on, I just talking about risk reward ratios and what you were talking about with that trade. A trader asked me a few days ago. We were looking at certain formations, and he was looking at a breakout, and I'm like, with breakouts, I just don't use a super generous stop because you're either going to get. We know with the way this momentum market is, you're either going to get that move and it's never going to come back to that price like when Nvidia and those things were breaking out. But if it doesn't hold, then break out to the same thing on a breakdown. So if there's other times, like let's say you usually use like a 8 or a 9 point stop in a stock, depending on your swing trade style. When you're going for a breakout like that, like be really aware, be really careful because
Oh yeah,
breakouts could turn into fake outs.
oh
And what
yeah,
Dennis took the long because he was taking long, he was taking Momo, he was taking
oh
market.
yeah.
But and what you usually do pretty good, Dennis, and I know this was a swing trade. You don't do a lot of shorts on the swing trade. Turned out to be a great short area, right? Because they sucked
They
everybody in.
should have flipped it.
Yeah. And
That's hard to do.
hindsight. That's
It's
hindsight.
hard to do when you're biased, on the long side and then to flip it. Sometimes I do, but that's the hardest thing to do. To be able to flip and say, "Oh, I'm wrong. I'm going the other way on this." And then you got to be careful you don't get chopped up too, because you could be wrong, and then all of a sudden it goes the other way, and you got faked out twice. I mean, once I get faked out once, I usually just back off. So again, it broke out. It made a new high. It looked like it wanted to take out 400. And it failed. And the day it failed, that's 2 weeks ago. We were talking about this stock, but a lot's happened since then. We've had TechRec since then. We've had IWM ripping higher. We had the CPI number, which really drove IWM and actually, caused the small correction we had in tech stocks. And I say small correction, it's been fairly small so far.
Mhm.
I know for some tech stocks, it's been a little bit bigger. But that's a big, significant fall for CrowdStrike. And let's just talk that level again. We'll come back to Microsoft because you got 270 on the board in the pre-market there. Obviously, this isn't the regular session, so maybe your charts won't ever pick that up. But we started pre-market prep because we often use those numbers as bogeys. Your low back, Joel, I'll use your technical analysis here back on February the 23rd, I believe it is.
Wow, February.
Yeah, my dad's birthday, back on my dad's birthday, February 23rd. Happy birthday, Dad, back February 23rd. What the low on this stock was on CrowdStrike was 273. So you got some, another area there. So I think that 270 area is going to be big here now if we get back down to there. I would expect that's the bounce area. I don't think we're going to get down there today, though. I think, it was an overshoot. Now it's a matter of, is there going to be, talk? Is there media attention here in the negative way? Does this just bounce back? Lots of questions to be answered. Why did this happen? CRWD, lots of questions to be answered. But again, this is not a cheap stock. It's a stock price for perfection. Many people believe this is the leader in cybersecurity. So when something like happens like this, do they lose the title? That's the question. So, it's not a cheap stock by any means, though.
All right. Boom. I see that level. Pat, you said Palo Alto's trading up on this.
Yes, it is.
I'd be careful on that. Just be market. Well, we're not. We're still up a little bit. If you're trading Palo Alto, and this is like a breath of fresh air, you're glad about this. It's back at yesterday's high, 331. Traded way over that in the pre-market, so that doesn't make it as a relevant number. But keep an eye on that, holding 331, and then if you're looking for another target on the upside after that, throwing out the pre-market high of over 340. Big overreaction there. 2-day high, 335.87. Any other cybersecurity stocks you want to take a look at? That, as you said, Sentinel-1 trading, man, 22. That was your high 3 days ago.
Popping too.
Yeah. Wow. That was a nice comeback on that one. But let's talk
So I
about
think I'm with you, Joel. I don't think I'm coming in and buying these other ones. And
no.
again, in the environment that we're in right now, we're in and maybe things change. Things can change very quickly. But since you've been away, it's been a sell the rip and tech kind of market. Where it's been, we've obviously saw, value trade really expand here in the last couple of weeks. But every time we seem to get a rally in these tech stocks, they seem to sell off again. So I don't think I'm chasing Palo. Got up to 340 this morning. I don't know who's buying up at 340. It's too much. I have this in the long-term account, Palo Alto still, but as a trade right now, I'm probably just sitting this one out.
Just
Not
real quick,
buying it.
I'm sorry, just to go back because I was out there in the week, following the markets, on my phone, not, as closely as I do. I mean, obviously, what do you like? What do you blame this week on the most? I know it's been a wild week, man. I mean, I'm telling you, an unfortunate week to start things out. But I think there was a lot of different headlines, and I talked to a few other people about it, and I thought it didn't get enough attention. But there's one thing that you talked about that was keeping you out of the China trade, right, Dennis? And what was that? What was keeping you out of going
Well,
full bore?
geopolitical risk.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And
right,
that was
right.
also, and that's what really happened when you were away here too, is we had Trump commentary
Yep.
basically saying it was lukewarm to protecting Taiwan. And Taiwan Semiconductor was down 18 points on that,
Yep,
and that caused an entire shipwreck. Those comments,
yep.
Junaid was here and trading
Yeah.
obviously that as well. He was trading with Nvidia, but the entire semiconductor sector got hammered because of those comments. So it's funny. China really got a pass. I mean, I think these stocks have been beat up so much. Like Alibaba really didn't go down on those commentary. And you'd think those stocks would tank.
Uh-huh.
Baidu's given some of the game back, but it was already giving some of the game back. On that Trump
Oh,
commentary, I know this is just these stocks. They're just like they pop and then they're crap again. That's just the
Yeah.
way they are. I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't
Bob,
know what's going to
yeah.
turn the China story around here. I have some Baidu and I have Baba in my long-term portfolio because I don't feel like there's an imminent invasion, but it makes me a little bit spooked when Trump says something about being lukewarm to protecting Taiwan. They're 9,500 miles away. It's kind of like their problem, and I'm like, that would be a U.S. problem. I mean, that would be a U.S. problem. What we also saw was Intel, your Intel position, Joel, really pop up on that. We called that on the show. Actually, it did. It's given it back. Also, Global Foundries, GFS, had a nice lift on that as well. Obviously, working on foundries in North America, like instead of being so reliant on TSM, I think that's a good thing. I think we want to be less reliant on TSM. And I think, this administration looks like it's going to, push for that. So I've said publicly, I think Intel's a Trump stock.
okay. Yeah, I see that. I saw the pop on that. Well, once again, you're having, stocks go different ways off the different news. But yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, I was like, in the morning, I'm like, holy mackerel! And then the combination of that with the TSM. But I mean, it's not only Microsoft that's being affected. It's not only it's the airlines, and the
Yeah.
airlines, man. Like the airlines need more problems. I mean, holy mackerel! My sister, she was. I wonder how long this has been going on because she was supposed to fly home. She was overseas in France, and she was supposed to fly back on Sunday, and they canceled the flights. And I don't want to say was it a Boeing plane or whatever,
Yeah.
but they just like no reason. And like international flights, like when they cancel an international flight, there's got to be a problem, right?
Well,
Because it.
just imagine, Joel. I think we can envision these problems. You log into TradeStation and they're saying the close is Wednesday's close. Can you imagine if there's just a little bit of bad data on that airline? Like they catch a piece of bad data, and thank goodness they do. I
Yeah.
mean, that this is the problem when something happens. And I guess, this would also be an argument against like the robo taxis or something like that. Imagine they have it perfected, but then all of a sudden you get some cyber attack and it's bad data, and all of a sudden one of the cameras isn't working as well, misses a car, and somebody dies. So I mean, this would be the argument that they're very reliant. It shows really how reliant we are,
Too.
on all these interconnections there. And you don't think like, oh yeah, I don't even think I'm a CrowdStrike customer. I don't subscribe to them or anything. No, my software does though. So I'm
Yeah.
like, my software's not working. And obviously, TradeStation's having an issue here too with the lasts.
You
So I mean, this is, imagine an airline, and all of a sudden, there's just some data, one piece of data that's wrong in there. That sounds scary. So I think that's what we're running into here is like just missing data.
You had I think it was about 147 flights for Frontier Airlines that got canceled on Thursday, and then they had to delay it another 212. And also United Airlines and Delta, along with American Airlines, also had to ground their flights because of this. But in terms of the markets, the Nasdaq and the exchanges expect everything to open smoothly. They didn't have any issues overseas, and they expect things to open up smoothly here at 9:30. So we'll see if that ends up being true. Obviously, we won't be live. Live trading will be, but there's that.
Just
Dennis, before we move on to the earnings, do you want a 3-star in your Tesla position?
Sure. I don't care because I'm not trading Tesla. It's on the long-term portfolio, so I need to stop looking at it. But give a 3-star for the Tesla traders out there.
This is based on the daily, of course, right?
Which you assume is correct.
Well, yeah. I have last at 249. Right?
On Tesla right now, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
last is 249.
Okay. Just keep an eye on 246.
Yeah,
and
I'm with you. If
Okay,
Tesla breaks down through 246, it might go down. I need to stop trading my long-term portfolio. So
I just wanted to say
so just gonna separate it. Like good companies at reasonable valuations, people are going to say, Tesla, are you nuts? It's not a reasonable valuation. But I've given the arguments. I think there's going to be revenue streams coming from a lot of different places, and I think Tesla's going to look cheaper in 2 to 3 years. I think there's going to be a lot of revenue coming for them. So that's why I'm projecting out, my own numbers, which probably aren't with the analysts, but I'm just looking at possibilities. So, but again, I don't know the path to get there. I was very wrong with Tesla for 4 months. I started buying Tesla, Joel, and you know it, back in March. I bought 190 and then 180. And then I was buying some 170. And Joel's like, stop buying it, because it's like going down. And, went to 140. And then, I actually did. I got spooked out and I chopped up and sold a little bit in there. And then I rebought some at 160. I rebought more at 180. I bought this 5 or 6 times. Small pieces, but I built it up to a fairly large position. So for 3 months, I was wrong, down. Chat making fun of me, Twitter just eating me for breakfast. Denny, you're going to lose all your money in Tesla. Well, I had 4% of my long-term portfolio, so I wasn't going to lose all my money. But they like to think that I'm going to lose all my money.
Yeah.
Eventually, it had the move and the robo-taxi run and whatever you want to call it. And now I'm up 35% in it. So sometimes in the long-term porfolio, you've got to take pain to get the gain. Trading wise,
what's your time frame?
Completely different.
Time frame? Like how many quarters are you going to give it years?
My time frame's 5 to 10 years on Tesla because I see everything coming.
So
I
you're
think
not
going to be one of the biggest AI companies in the world.
Okay.
I think this has the end products. We keep talking about, Chat GPT, and I've given all these arguments, but we keep talking about, Chat GPT, this can change the world. Well, you bring out Chat GPT, and when you were away, Joe always showed a picture of salmon swimming in a river, and it had salmon fillets swimming in a river. So it's not perfected whatsoever. Like the fillets, and it didn't know any better because it's like, we put salmon in the river. It didn't know any better. So it screws up. And, things do screw up and AI is not perfected. But you think like end product, I'm like, well, I don't really even use any of these end products now.
No.
A full self-driving car, energy, obviously we got the energy storage business, obviously the internet's not, but it's all tied in. Humanoids, those are end products, folks. Those are like really cool AI end products. Imagine your humanoid able to learn. Imagine it able to help you and do the dishes for you and do all these things. I can envision this. And you know what? I might be wrong. And maybe I'm living in, a fantasy land where none of this stuff is ever going to come to fruition. But one thing I've learned from Elon Musk is he doesn't hit timelines. He does not. But in the long run, he seems to make it work. He was building cars in a freaking tent for years, Joel. And everybody's making fun of him. And it's Tesla Q. And they're going bankrupt. And they're never going to, be able to make money with this company. Never in the middle. Gordon Johnson was on 10 years ago. Tesla will never, ever be profitable. Profitable. Well, now he's got, the $27 price target still on the thing, but he's not arguing that they're not profitable. And then there's lies. And then they say, it's fraud. They're not real numbers. They wouldn't be profitable without the EV credits and all this stuff. Some of it's true, but you know what? I've learned one thing about Elon Musk is he eventually proves people wrong. And nobody works harder than this guy. And we just gave him $50 billion as shareholder.
Exactly. I agree.
He has
I agree.
something to prove now. And he's going to try to prove it. Is he going to hit his timelines?
No.
Hell no. He's not going to hit the October
No.
timeline.
That's why I'm asking you. That's why I asked you how long you get. That's why I asked you
10
how
years,
long.
Joel.
10 years.
I'm not on margin.
I just want to know. You're not margin. Okay.
But you know
the
what?
only reason
You
I
guys,
asked that, Dennis.
you guys in the chat and Joel are going to talk about my Tesla position.
No, I'm not. I'm
5
just
times
giving
a
you a
week
level.
for the next 5 years and probably drive me out of it.
That is, I just want to know, like
246.
Like a quarter on a like you answered my question. My question is like, how long are you giving these things? And you answered
I
me
don't
5
normally
to 10
give anything
years.
10 years.
Because let me finish.
Stop
Let me
looking
finish.
at it.
I gotta
Stop
make up
looking at it.
I gotta make up for 4 days of
5%
not
of my I
talking.
put 5% of my account, long-term account in Tesla, and now I'm going to stop looking at it.
Okay.
All right,
I might
let's
trade it.
Wait.
I'm interested in
Go
the
ahead.
trade. I
Final
might
thing.
trade it.
Can
Like
a
a
robo
different account.
taxi? What this is it.
Go
This-
ahead,
we're
go
not
ahead.
gonna talk about Tesla the rest of the day. Can a
Okay.
robo taxi?
Never talk about Tesla again.
No, you're such an extremist.
Come on, we
Can
got to
a
go to Netflix.
robo-
Go ahead. Yeah.
Can a robo taxi put your bikes on the back of the car?
A humanoid's going to do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a
They
human.
got
Okay,
everything
because we
covered,
went up
Joel.
north.
You
Am
want
I
to know
on-
the craziest thing? They took a patent out. Tesla took a patent out for a self-cleaning car because people were saying, well, if you got robotaxi, go in, and who's going to clean the car after after you get some drunk pukes in the back of it? They took a patent out to have a self-cleaning. The vacuums come out of the side, just clean it all up. It's a cool concept. It's not. It's going to maybe not.
I just want someone
a cool
to parallel
idea.
park for me. That's all it is. Just someone to parallel park for me, so I don't hit.
See,
things.
Lex
So let's move on
loves
to-
me in the chat.
I
my
want
number one
someone
hater
to
might be
put my
Lex now.
bikes on the car. I want someone to put the bikes on the
Look.
car, make sure they're strapped on, make sure they don't fall off on the freeway. That's what I want.
I got to show my number one hater, Lek, because every time I take a position, he always says I'm going to lose all my money on it. So we love you, Lek. You keep me honest. You make me think about my positions. He says eventually my 5% position is going to be 1%. You might be right. I've had positions that I've lost significantly on before. Maybe you're right. But right now I'm up 40%. So as of this time, right now, I'm right. But I may be wrong. Maybe I'm going to end up being wrong. Maybe
we got to do a shot.
And Tesla's going to kill everyone. And AI is going to come in and kill us all, and Skynet, and it's just over.
Save us here.
Let's go Netflix. Let's go.
Zed, hop in
Let's
here.
go
This
Netflix.
is where you hop
Let's
in.
go Netflix. We went out Netflix. I mean, people that purchase puts were very happy because Netflix hit a low of 600, I believe, in the after hours after they reported. So they were like, yoo-hoo! And then it just came right back up. And then call buyers thought they had a chance, but it's the iron condors that might make money here at the market open. So Netflix drops, comes right back up. We'll see where it ends up being. But the highlights there is that the revenue beat. You also had the targets of 26% full year in the operating margins as well. You had revenue of $9.72 billion versus $9.82 billion. So that looked okay. And then you had the EPS beat of 488 compared to the 475 estimates. But nonetheless, IV killer in the options world for Netflix.
What didn't they like initially?
Who knows, Joel? The moves and the algos, just go off the initial. And I was looking at it falling. I tried to actually buy it a couple of times, and I actually missed. And I thank goodness, actually, because I actually went lower after that. But we knew the expected move. We came on, the expected moves around 56 points, I think. So I was already having that in my head. And I'm like, I don't think it got down that far, though. I think it was down like 40. What was the low? What was the low?
600, right?
600 right on the kisser.
Oh, you gotta go those kisser numbers though.
Yeah, it was
like
exactly
when they're on the
600.
kisser like that, you gotta go those big whole numbers. Remember, I did a whole lecture just on this. One thing about the markets is simple wins. And sometimes it's like, in Kenny Glick, fantastic trader, at this. He's like, let's get the 650, it's going to 7. Get the 7, it's going to 750. Simplicity. 600, big whole number. Sometimes these things just work. You know why? Because so many people got strikes there. So many people got options from there. So many people maybe got puts there. They're like, I'm going to make a whole lot of money. Netflix is going to miss. Or maybe they got calls there, or maybe, but there's just optionality at those prices. And we're going to bring CC Legator here on in 4 minutes so we can talk more about this. But big whole numbers work.
100%.
600, 700, 1,000. You know, that stuff just works.
Yeah.
Amazon, we just had it at Amazon, 200. Why was it working? Well, Bezos decided that I'm selling out half my bloody position at 200. I need more yachts. Maybe I'm getting divorced again. Who knows, Bezos? So don't start the rumors. You know, Chad me runs. Dennis Dick says Bezos getting divorced. Bezos is mad at me. No, obviously not. But 200, he was selling every day. Every day. He was the whale, selling. Why did he pick 200? Why didn't he pick 201? Why didn't he pick 199? Why didn't he pick 198? He picked 200 just because $200. Get rid of some more. Get rid of some more. And he was selling every day, the whale of the sale, and they couldn't get through it. And now Amazon's come back down.
How many? Do you have how much he sold up there, Dennis?
Every day. Well, not
really?
His overall position probably 1%, but it looks like a lot of shares because he has so many shares. I don't know. Bring up the pro. Can you bring up the pros?
Yeah, I'm looking here. Let me.
There was so many in there. It was like nonstop. Filter that through. And it was like every day, Bezos. There it is. Bezos sells $200.03. He sold, this was back.
Let me get the insider.
This was back on Monday. Sells 400,000 shares. And then we go to Friday. Or no, for Thursday, it means it's $200.11. He sold 2.2 million shares. And then we go to the day before that. Oh, he takes the day off. He was going every other day. Tuesday. Oh, he's so sneaky. He was sneaky. He went Tuesday, Thursday, Monday. Sneaky. The algos will never detect that if I do it every other day. Sells 4 million shares at $200.15. Just do it every other day. The algos won't figure out. Then he didn't do on Sunday. I can't sell on Sunday. But he didn't do on Monday. He did on Friday. He did every other day. I didn't even notice that. Sell 1.6 million, $200.07. Then he doesn't go on and then we're going to the previous week. He doesn't do it on Thursday. Oh, but is he back on Wednesday? Oh, no, he didn't do it on that Wednesday. He did it on, he took a couple days off in there. But as you can clearly see, he was like unloading some serious stock at, when you're selling 2 million shares, that's not nothing. That's something hard to get through that. He was a big seller. 13 billion. Paul, thank you. He says he sold $13 billion total.
It's insane.
That's a lot of stock. It's a lot of stock.
And crazy that he still has so much more left.
Yeah, and also on who has been unloading, Frank's saying CEO Jensen Huang, NVIDIA has been selling too. I've seen him, and again, these guys are just rich. They probably want bigger houses, bigger yachts, bigger whatever. That's definitely Bezos. I'm not sure with Jensen Huang. He's probably taking his money to work on some other great idea. Because that's what these guys do. Musk and Jensen Huang cut from the same cloth. Bezos, he likes to party. He's out there. You see him, what he's doing. He's enjoing life a little bit. He's got good biceps for a man his age. No question. He does. He likes to live life. So he needs 13 billion just to keep up with his lifestyle. We know where the Bezos money's going.
Now we've got about a minute or so.
All right, a minute. Let me do Netflix 11. Yeah. I don't know how we ended up on Jeff Bezos' insider sales from.
It's fun.
No, I know. But it is up it's up 8 points, which isn't bad. What I'll do here, if my data is correct, if I'm a Netflix bull and I saw the same trade down to 600, I'd be like, man, if this gets to yesterday's high, 657.04, you kind of did that on the no, that was part of that was after hours. You did that after hours. No, after hours, you got to 658.58, but I really like yesterday's high. That's a big level. Just if you're trading this today, you did some options or whatever. If it doesn't sneak up to get over that 657 in a hurry, and then it starts to retreat or never gets up there, starts to pull back, the premium in those call options that you have is just gonna shrivel. Yeah. So make sure you get back over 657.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts before we bring in our guest?
No, Dennis? Let's go options expiration with CC.
All right, here we go. A quick little intro.
CC, we are so glad that we have you on.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you guys.
Because you are going to tell us your trading plan when you don't have the correct net change going into an options expiration.
When you don't have the correct what?
Do you have the correct net change? Were you affected by the cyber attack?
Yeah, it's interesting. So most, you all were just talking about Netflix. Everything looks good on Netflix. SPX, like where did SPX close yesterday? At like $45, right? And then I see it like kind of 55. Like, yeah, there's like a couple of things off, but most things look good now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's scary when just a couple are off, though, CC. Like, that's sneaky on you because I think everything's working well on mine. Now you're scaring me that there might be one or two just off.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Imagine you
right?
trading on the wrong data.
Right.
That's
And
a
real-
horror story. And you know what's even worse is when you run algorithmic trading off the wrong data. That's really bad because the computers don't have the common sense to know that, hey, JP Morgan isn't trading down $7 here this morning. I know the common sense. Like, is there news on JP Morgan? No, it's not trading down $7 today, but TradeStation earlier was showing it down $7.
Well,
So, I mean, that's a scary thought.
No, what's wild? Do you guys remember this was about a month ago? And the exchange data went down on SPX and maybe a couple of other things. Do you remember that for like an hour or two during the trading day? And what was wild is the options market was updating. And I don't know exactly, how the market makers were doing it. They may have been going up, because SPY and all were still trading. But SPX was down for about an hour. But you could sort of figure out where SPX was because the options market was updating. It was really kind of wild. And it might be one of those kinds of opens where it's like, wait, are the options right? Or is the spot right?
Well, thankfully, the exchanges have said that the open will be fine. Like the European
Okay.
markets didn't have any issues. So they also don't expect any issues to happen on here on the US end. Obviously, we'll see what 930 brings. There's been plenty of times where the options are off, but the SPXs are fine. So we've seen it both ways.
One other thing I can add to that is sort of insider knowledge is what happens overnight on, like at a brokerage is you're getting, you sort of get sockets of data, right? And it's really goofy and kind of old school. So for instance, in the morning at about 7:30 Eastern, we get a start of day file from the clearing firm, right? And so everything that was happening intraday up until that point kind of gets reset with a start of day file from the clearing firm, like in our case, Apex and, a lot of other big brokerages and things, right?
That's how I get it. Same thing, start of day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really weird because then you're sort of starting your day over. And if anything kind of happens in that like half an hour period where you get that start of day file where there's like data errors, you have like these kind of errors that can be consistent throughout the day. And then on the brokerage side, they're scrambling to try to get that all sorted and so that it all matches. So that's the thing I would say, look out for. And I would say more in your marks and you're within your brokerage account. If you have some weird mark to start the day, it might have something to do with that the 2 hours before the open were a mess over at your brokerage.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about today's expiration and where you think volatility is headed for the rest of the summer. So what a great day for you to come on. Maybe expect some volatility right off the open. And just to clarify, it was a glitch based on an update and not a cyber attack as far as we know, because I know the chat's talking about it. But what are you expecting in terms of the volatility for today's expiration, but also the rest of the way through the summer, because it is election year as well. And, madness is already happening, and we expect it to happen as well. So many uncertainties. What are your thoughts on that? On the volatility aspect of it.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was thinking back to, I was on a month ago, last expiry, which was, one of the big triple witching expiries. This one's smaller. It's still big. Like every monthly expiration is significant. About a third of the options effect rolls off. And, it started to roll off yesterday, rolls off by Monday. So the Monday backdrop's always different than say like what it was like this Wednesday. We also had a VIX expiration this past Wednesday, which I think had a pretty major effect on volatility. But going back to when I was on a month ago, we talked about, at that point, NVIDIA was right up near highs. It might have started showing cracks like right into that expiry. Yeah. Those stocks were at highs. IWM was still hanging out down probably near 200 at that point. And what I talked about was that when you have that big of an expiration, it can kind of change the backdrop to the market, at least like what options, exactly what Dennis was just talking about with like big round numbers, gamma, things like that. Like that can kind of like put a dampener on the market, right? All of that was rolling off last month. And then it's like, all right, well, what did we see? Well, we didn't see a big crash, But what we did see is like things started to get weird after last expiration, right? So what we had up until that market for most of this year was a really like kind of long gamma, boring, grinds higher in the market type background. As of last month's expiry, things started to open up and get weird, and it was only up until the last couple of days. Like if you were just sitting at home and you opened up the paper and you said, oh, the market's higher today or the market's unchanged, you weren't getting a good indication of the chaos that was kind of happening under the surface, right? And we all were seeing it because we were watching these stocks day to day. But just, you think about since the CPI, where you had IWM rip, you had small caps rip higher, and then under the surface, you're looking at all those like mega cap tech companies basically getting hammered, right?
Yeah.
And that all was happening under the surface, and it was basically the correlation was so low. And the SIBO actually put out a chart on this like a week and a half ago, that the divergence in the market, meaning if you are looking at the SPX index today and it's unchanged, but you've got CrowdStrike down massively, you've got something else, you've got Microsoft down massively, you've got something else balancing it out up massively. That has been at historic levels over the last couple of weeks. And basically the major indices, the SPX in this instance, has been hiding it. It's sort of been, it's under the surface and all this chaos is happening, but you wouldn't have seen it in the SPX until the last couple of days, I would say, when things started to correlate a little bit more. And now we come into this, that's a long-winded way to get to this expiration, where this could add to it. And we could sort of, that what has been getting removed from the backdrop of the market the last couple of weeks, the last 3 weeks, let's say, it could accelerate, and we could be in for a lot more volatility. That not necessarily that was the high for the year, week, or even the high for the next couple of months, but it's possible. But what's more likely is that we are entering in a new, leading into the election. We see these bouts of volatility all the way through until into the fall, basically.
So that ends up being more exciting, right? Because we always talk about, as traders, you want the volatility because that's where you're trying to get a lot of action. The options prices in, a lot of IV in there as well. So when it comes to this, then the market's about to get more exciting then, because we have so much news coming out every single day in terms of, Trump's VP candidate. Now we know who that's going to be. Now is Biden going to drop out? This, that, the other, geopolitical risk and things like that. I assume we're going to get more chaos then. And so what are you expecting in terms of mega cap, small cap? Small cap had a nice little run just a couple of days ago. IWM had a nice little run. What are you expecting there? And what are your thoughts on options helping you kind of set up so you don't make horrible decisions, no matter which direction you're trying to take your positions?
Yeah, it's interesting because I often say that options are really good at predicting the short term, and they're really bad at predicting the long term, right? And that's just math. It's impossible to like price in 3 months, 4 months down the road, because you could get buried if you're wrong for 3 weeks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In this case, it's sort of interesting because, the election has been, it hasn't been a mystery that the election's coming up. And the options market has been, the curve on the VIX has been massive out into the fall, when we've been at these very low VIX levels, even when the VIX was at like 12. You were still looking out to September, October, November, and like a much higher volatility. Now we're getting close to that, right? You think about it, today's expiration, then you have August, you're into September. So the options market, even a month and a half, 2 months out, has already, we're catching up to what the options market has always said would be a volatile period. And what's interesting about that sort of divergence correlation argument is it's very possible we start to see a lot more convergence, meaning on the same day that NVIDIA and Microsoft are down, is IWM down, right? Or do the sectors start to move with each other? And if that's the case, then you're going to see overall market volatility. There's that stat, we haven't had a 2% move in SPX in, I don't even know what it is now,
Yeah.
but it's I think it's a record.
300 trading days or something.
Yeah,
Like
something
it's something like a year and a half.
Totally, something insane. And we've talked about that in past appearances. There's a lot going on there. There's 0DTE trading on SPX every day that didn't used to exist, all of that kind of stuff. But the story lately has been, Nvidia will be down 5% and IWM will be up 2%. That's what the last couple of weeks have looked like, right?
Yeah.
If those start to, come together and you start to see them up and down on the same day, then you might start to see some of these, it kind of looked yesterday like we might get like a 2% move. Yeah.
That was the first day, CC.
Yeah.
I'm with you that I was actually talking and I was doing the closing print there with Josh and we were just talking about, I was like, this is kind of the first day where it's kind of an everything sell-off. There was a few pockets of strength, but majority of stocks were down. It felt weak across the board. You had IWM and the Qs, cats and dogs playing happily together. I mean, that's where we were yesterday. So, I mean, that's like the first day in so long because it's been the opposite. It's been like, oh, NVIDIA's selling off, we're buying IWM. And even this morning, CrowdStrike selling off hard. Well, they're buying Palo Alto Networks, like they're turning around and buying the other cybersecurity stocks. Maybe that makes sense, but it's like the divergence here is incredible. So I don't know what brings it all back together, but maybe eventually just if you get some overall market fear, then that can bring everything back together.
Well, there was a classic one the other day. So it was 2 days ago, which was ugly, right? And, this isn't the type of show where you talk about the Dow Jones much, but like the other day, like stuff was getting, like the NASDAQ was getting absolutely murdered. And I'm pretty sure the Dow finished green or unchanged.
Yeah.
So if you just like opened up your paper, you'd be like, oh, the market was up today. And then you'd open up your mutual fund statement and you're like, why am I down 10% this month? Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that kind of stuff's wild. And then so sort of gaming it forward, it's like, okay, so how does this resolve? Right. Because I do think the last couple of days was, it was a change. Something changed where we started to see this stuff move in unison. And whether it was, think about the news of this week. It's chaos, right? You had the assassination attempt. You have, yesterday, the betting markets were basically like, Biden stepping down.
Yeah.
I mean, think about 2 weeks ago, imagining that sort of thing, right? And not to say that that's going to affect your NVIDIA position in any way, but it starts to sentiment is real, right? And so it started to feel like stuff started to move the last 2 days in unison. And that resolves itself one of two ways, right? Either all those small caps and those things that have been balancing out and hiding this pullback in the NVIDIAs and the Microsofts and the, Apples of the world, either that kind of says, all right, well, that was stupid and that was overdone. And IWM and those kinds of things start to pull back. And then all of a sudden it could get, not ugly, but like that could turn into an actual, 7 to 10% pullback, right, in the market. Or everybody's done with the selling of the mega caps and they come back into those. And in that condition, I don't think they sell IWM, right? Yeah. If people start to step back in and buy NVIDIA and all, then you get the kind of the market moving up in unison again. Now, I don't think we are close to that. I think we've got to have, very rarely do you go into an election like this and not have some sort of, down move into it. I doubt we go from highs ripping straight into new highs into the election. I would imagine we see some volatility. The headlines are going to be changing over the next couple of weeks. Imagine what that does. I don't think elections affect the market overall that much, but they definitely affect sectors, right? Yeah. These guys have different policies on different sectors. It could be pharma, it could be, oil, it could
EV.
Be, whatever.
That's EV, something that Trump mentioned during his speech, I believe, yesterday, which is interesting because obviously you have Elon backing him, and I don't know if it was confirmed or if he said it, but you have money going to support him every single month as well, Elon to Trump and his efforts. So it'll be interesting to see how that EV space ends up looking.
Well, didn't he say he's cutting? Well. Didn't he say he's cutting off subsidies to EV?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, so it's like EV will take a debt, but maybe he'll take care of Elon. You know what I mean? I don't really know how that will work out. But again,
his stuff is so free for him. You wonder if that's even official policy.
CC, before we let you go, you covered so much here for us. I'm going to skip the short duration trading. I just want to ask you. I mean, we're coming to a period here. a turn in the market, right? Potential continued deeper correction, or market just buy the dip opportunity, which has been so rewarding for so many months and years. How can options kind of help you like ferret this out a little bit or take a little bit of less pain without paying up to the premium gods? So I don't know if you just want to speak about all the indexes all together or just a general strategy here. So, so you can participate if we continue to go lower, not feel the pain as much, or if the buy the dippers are just going to reign supreme.
Yeah, well, the buy the dippers ultimately always reign supreme, right? And what we talked about the last appearance was, we specifically used NVIDIA as an example, and I think the example still holds. So when I was
Okay.
on last time, we talked, and I said, like, I don't go out recommending hedges often, right? And, but there are times when I think they make a ton of sense. And when we were on last time, NVIDIA was still up near the highs. We were looking back on the chart and we were saying, all right, the last time it meaningfully pulled back, it was about 17, 18% or whatever. You can see that on the chart, right? And so we said, the way options can be used in something like that, particularly if you're long, or if you were a buyer below, and you said, oh, if I get this, if I get a move down 10, 15 points in NVIDIA, I'm going to be a buyer. And we were joking that everybody says that, and then it happens and they're not a buyer, right? Because now NVIDIA is down and they're bearish. And so we were talking about how you could use options to set up for a scenario like this. So if you were a buyer of NVIDIA in the teens here, when it was at 235 or when it was up at 35, right? We talked about put spreads and puts down to those levels so that you would actually follow through on what you said you were going to do, right? And in this case, it's exactly what happened. If you were a buyer down here in NVIDIA, you would have the bullets, you would have the ammo. If you had done a put spread out to, I think we talked about August put spreads in NVIDIA. And we said, if this thing pulls back 20%, are you going to be a seller or a buyer down there, right? And if you had that option position on, you could be a buyer here, or you could be patient and you could be waiting for this thing to come back even further. So I think that lesson holds for everything. And what's sort of interesting is the overall market, I think, is now at that same point. The Qs have shown cracks. IWM is obviously feels extended to the upside, or at least it did, a day and a half ago until it pulled back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's the same sort of thing where it's like, what can I put on in the options market if I'm already long the market, or if I'm long a specific stock, where if we did get this, 10% pullback in the market between now and the election, unless the fundamental backdrop changes and interest rates start spiking and, or the jobs numbers are like horrible and we look like we're going into a recession, if the fundamentals behind the market don't change, that is most likely a viable, pullback in the market. The market got overextended, it pulls back, it comes back to you, you're a buyer and you buy the dip. The options market can help you be there, with your head straight for those moments so that you can actually buy it and you're not one of those panic sellers on one of those capitulation mornings.
Well, let's see what happens at the open in terms of volatility and, of course, throughout the cycle of the election, the summer, and the short-term trading opportunities. But thank you so much, CC. I appreciate you for coming out here today and always love your insights.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
Absolutely.
Talk to you next month.
See ya. Check them out at Options Learn. We also have one more stock that I've got if you want to quickly go over it, and that's Amex that reported earnings as well. They had earnings of $3.49 per share, which beat the analysts' expectations of $3.26. So that's about a 7% beat. And they also reported sales of about $16.33 billion, which missed the estimate of about 16.58. So it's about 1.5% miss there on that end. But what are we thinking in terms of Amex? I know we covered Discover yesterday. Now you've got Amex. Any thoughts on this?
Can we see that pre-market chart, Joel? Just I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to decide what I have is correct or not.
It is. So it got up to 258. The algos buy it on the excitement, and obviously we've leaked that back here. It feels like, and I don't know, Joel, you've been away for a few days, so you might actually have a better feel sometimes of sitting back and then coming in. You can just look at the charts and you don't have all the trading, where it skews your perspective here. But after yesterday's sell-off, and yesterday was the day that it felt like, okay, they're taking some risk off for the first day in a long time. And people say, what are you talking about? Tech's been going down here for 2 weeks. But it was across the board. They were taking risk off to a certain extent yesterday. It felt like a little bit of fear yesterday. Now we're getting a little bit of a bounce here today. I mean, some stocks are bouncing, obviously not CrowdStrike, but some stocks bouncing here today. Lily's up 20 points here. It feels a little bit like it's more of an opportunity to sell than it is to buy. And I think you saw this with American Express as well. Algos pop it, and then people are like, yeah, we're not in Kansas right now. We're a little bit nervous in this market. And sometimes market sentiment will just bring things down. And I think that's where I'm at on American Express, is it had the big pop. Discover had a big pop too on its earnings, which was getting taken over yesterday, which is just dumb. So I think we're just at a point where I think people are taking profits into pops.
I think Amex traders, I think got a break. I think they got a break. I mean, in a good way here, because it was not a good day to report, right?
No.
So it just overall market move, and then to see this thing go $5 above its all-time high on a day like that. I mean, I just kind of feel it brought out the sellers. I mean, bad tape, bad day. Who knows was, obviously the cyber thing, you had no idea, but that's history. I don't think we're going back to 258 today. What's really important for Amex today, American Express, is to get back in that over 247.50. There was a pair of lows there, people buying it ahead of the report. So that's a big level. I'm going to use that as like major resistance for now. And then on the downside here, your pre-market low comes in at 241.30. Man, I don't see any multiple lows in the same area until you get to 237. But I don't think that's in the cards either. Your 4-day low comes in at 240.45. But I think it's important. You had a double bottom ahead of the report. You went $5 above a new all-time high. Now you're down below. People are scratching their head, and they'll say, hey, if it fills the gap from yesterday, I'll see sellers there in AXP.
1 minute to go. I just want to say we are on options expiration, so we'll see more volatility at the open and obviously at the close here as well. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of sell imbalances. They're not enormous, but they're significant here. Now, I don't know if that's going to change. Obviously, we still have 9 o'clock till 9:30, so 31 minutes for institutions to get their orders in there. But if the market was to open right now, it would actually open lower. So expect the S&P to start leaking if these sell imbalances don't start to get offset. So far, they're not getting offset. They've been kind of there all morning, but the market's ignoring them. So just keep an eye. S&Ps could start to leak a bit if these sell imbalances don't turn.
All right. Jenny, final thoughts from you, Joel?
Yeah. Since I rebooted, now my high in the day and low of the day are off, which is
just pockets of data being wrong. That's the worst case scenario. When it's all wrong, you're like, okay, it's wrong. I'm not going to trade.
I don't mind being wrong.
When it's like 10% wrong, you think, oh, it's 90% right. Oh, it must be all right. And then you're trading on this like, whoa, I just trade off the wrong price. So verify your quotes, folks, because obviously Joel's had some problems. I think my quotes are all okay. I've had some account problems. I just got informed from my software to switch to a different server, and my positions are loaded now. Good. So I'm actually now think I'm trading normal. So I think those issues are fixed too, but they had to switch servers. I had to manually switch to a different server because the one server wasn't working.
On one platform that I'm on, I got the low of the day right and the high of the day wrong. And then on another futures platform, I have the low of the day being yesterday's low, but the high of the day being correct.
Well, so enjoy your Friday off. You're supposed to take today off anyway.
I should have stayed up north. But Jeremy Schwartz is going to join us on Monday. He's going to help us get a long and short-term perspective on the markets. Z, great having you on today. Glad you didn't have any traffic problems. Yeah. I'm sorry?
I call him Zed. That's how it's
said. Call me Zed. The Canadians up there, call me Zed.
Yeah. And for all you Pulp Fiction lovers out there,
there we
Zed.
go. Always a pleasure. I set 3 alarms just to make sure I was good and ready to rock. And you know how when you set an alarm because you have to wake up early, you dream that you missed it, and
Oh, of course.
I'm like, oh man, hope I haven't missed it. Then I wake up and it's 6:45, and I'm like, I still got 15 minutes. We're good. Always a
I have
pleasure.
the same recurring nightmare that I'm missing my airplane flight, and I don't even fly anywhere. But I think it's like an analogy to missing the open in the market. I honestly
That's
think
the
that
life of a trader.
I think that's the analogy there, that I'm like late for the flight. I'm trying to get there and you're trying to hurry to get there and you're trying to get through all the checkpoints and you're going to miss your flight. And I hardly fly anywhere. So it's a weird recurring nightmare. And I actually
write that down.
Week, but I think I think it's related to the stocks.
Write that down. Talk to a therapist about that one.
Yeah, mine is that I'm a senior.
Another one to write down for my therapist.
Mine is I'm a senior in college, and it's the end of the semester, and I haven't gone to any of the classes or bought any of the books.
I have that one too.
And that was like, oh, that's my senior year.
Wow.
But anyways,
you
that's
sit down
it.
And you don't know any of the answers on the test. and I've been out of school here. We've been out of school for 25 years, but we're still having these same nightmares about the tests. Yeah.
I love it. Well, now we wake up at the same time that we used to for school. That's what a friend of mine last night, she was like, when do you have to wake up? And I'm like, I have to wake up at 7 o'clock just to make sure I'm ready for the show. And she's like, dude, you're an adult. Those are like school hours that you have to wake up. And I'm like, shit, you're right. But anyway, always a pleasure, chat. Thank you so much. You've got live trading coming up with Ryan in 13. Plenty more action. Then after that, you've got Anne-Marie, and you've got options trading with Sandra as well. So a lot of stuff going on until 12 o'clock. We'll see you guys later. Bye.